please, you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Take a seat there, lean toward the red microphone. Very audible voice. I hope state your full name.
Sharon Goldberg.
And speak up a little bit.
Sharon Goldberg.
That's wonderful. Go ahead.
Ms. Goldberg, where are you a resident? What state?
Texas.
Okay. What part of Texas?
Aledo, Texas.
Okay. Now, are you related to Thomas O'Donnell?
Yes.
And how?
I'm a sister.
The younger sister?
11 months.
Okay. Now, I want to draw your attention to the events that occurred after Mr. O'Donnell was arrested in California. Do you recall those?
Yes.
And was it your understanding that Mr. O'Donnell was flying to Texas on or about December the 8th?
Yes.
Okay. And he didn't arrive, did he?
Correct.
Okay. What efforts did you make in order to find him?
Meaning that day?
Yes. Well, let me just make it a little more narrow. Did you reach out to any members of the California Highway Patrol in order to locate your brother, Thomas
Yes.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall who you spoke with?
Whoever answered the phone at the dispatch, I guess. I just called the main non-emergency number.
Okay. How many people did you speak with?
I believe 2.
And you don't know either person's name?
No, sir.
Do you recall what you spoke about?
Yes.
Okay. What did you tell them?
What did I tell them?
What did you tell them with regards to Thomas O'Donnell and Julie Hart?
Well, I called just the police department looking for my brother who didn't show up for my party, my birthday party. The only place I could think of to call was the police. And I happened to know that my brother was friends with Julie.
Julie Hart.
Correct.
Okay. And you called the California Highway Patrol to get assistance to try to find your brother?
Correct.
Okay. Now, during the course of that conversation, did you also mention to anyone at the California Highway Patrol that Mr. O'Donnell goes by another name?
No, sir.
So you didn't tell anyone that he also goes with the name Rob?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Good morning, Ms. Goldberg. So your understanding of the relationship between Tom and Julie was that it was personal in nature?
Correct.
And how long have they known one another, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I asked him on around July 4th who he was interested in, and he was his latest girlfriend. And he said Julie's name, and I looked her up. And I think it was July 3rd or 4th, somewhere in there.
So he talked to family members about his relationship with Julie?
Correct.
No further questions, Jeff?
No further questions.
She should be released. She may be released.
Next week's Ryan Whitmer.
Last name is
Whitmer, W-I-T-T-M-E-R.
Ryan Whitmer. Picture of one around Judge Reed. Raise your right hand and swear the testimony that you about to give is the truth and whole truth.
I do.
Take a seat there, lean toward the red microphone and really understand.
My name is Brian Whitmer, B-R-I-A-N. Last name is W-I-T-T-M-E-R.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Whitmer, where do you reside?
I reside in Goldberg, California.
I hate to be rude, but if anyone has a cough, it's key in the microphone. You can, if you can't refrain from the cough, there, you can watch the proceedings. They're streamed live in the basement, okay? Thank you. Proceed.
Did you repeat your answer, sir?
Sure. Roseville, California.
Okay. And are you employed?
I'm retired.
Okay. What was your prior employment?
I was a sergeant, at times acting commander for the California Highway Patrol.
And where were you stationed?
I was stationed at the Yuba Sutter area office. is where I retired out of.
And what part of California is that near, that where somebody from Kentucky might be familiar?
It's about 40 miles north of Sacramento.
Okay. Now, did you know Julie Hardy?
I did.
And how did you know her?
She was my commander for about 3.5 years.
And how would you describe her working with her?
My relationship with her was good, working with her. I think that others would give a different opinion, but because I was second in command, I had to keep a certain criteria with her.
Okay. And I want to ask you first about, before we go into a lot of things about Julie Hardy, did you ever receive a phone call or talk to a lady named Sharon Goldberg?
I did.
And you recall when that was?
I know that it was a few months before, or excuse me, a few days before all this really took place.
Was it a few days before Julie Hardy committed suicide, or you remember that?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what was the purpose of Ms. Goldberg calling you?
She was wanting to try to track down her brother Thomas O'Donnell.
Okay. And what did she tell you about Julie Hardy and Thomas O'Donnell?
She just referenced the fact that she was calling the Yuba Sutter area office to look for Julie because those two were friends.
Okay. Did she give you any other information about Thomas O'Donnell?
That he was scheduled to be in Texas for a reunion and he hadn't showed up yet.
Okay. Did she say to you that he went by any other names?
She said that he went by Robert O'Donnell or Robert Francis O'Donnell.
Okay. Now, after Julie Hardy committed suicide, what was the normal procedure as far as her personal effects and things at her station?
So I was tasked with cleaning out her office, which was separate from the normal areas of other officers and supervisors as such.
And did you find any paraphernalia or anything, any types of cards in her desk?
I did.
Okay. If we can show those. You may not be able to see those on the screen if I can give you a copy here. Could you look at those copies and tell the jury what they are?
These are copies of what appears to be a Valentine's card to Julie, and it was from a signature of Rob.
Okay. And what's the other document?
They seem to both be Valentine's cards. They seem to
If
be
you look
different
real
cards.
close on one page, does it say birthday or Valentine?
They both say Happy Valentine's Day.
Well, I guess I gave you the wrong copy. Sorry about that. Let me go back. Now, what is that document?
So the second document says best wishes on your birthday.
Okay. Is that, how is that one signed?
That one is also signed Rob.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask that those be admitted as commonwealth's next hearing to the city.
No objection, sir. So next number is 56 Q.
Now, Mr. Whitmer, I want to ask you to go back to Julie Hardy. You said you got a pretty good working relationship with her.
That's correct.
And why was that? You said you were second in command.
That's correct.
Did you have a lot of interaction with her at work?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did her behavior change over the time that you knew her?
Yes.
And how did it change?
She became distant from the actual everyday responsibilities of the office. And I would consider she confided in me more than what she normally would. She would talk to me at times about personal stuff, but as time went on, it kind of became A lot more than what I was kind of used to over the
A
last.
lot more information than you normally receive, is that correct?
Yes, more information.
Okay. And did her behavior change about the things that she did in life?
Yes.
And how did that change?
She seemed to, I would describe it looked like she was getting a lot skinnier. She was being more talkative. She was being more erratic, I guess you could call it. Differences from her normal personality.
Okay. Was she, when you first met her, was she a social drinker or a drinker?
When I first met her, she wasn't a drinker at all.
Okay. And did that change over time?
It did.
Okay. In what way? How do you know? What was she taking?
So she would tell me, and she would send me photos of her going to the Napa Valley area in Sacramento and going to vineyards. She would text me pictures of certain vineyards or glasses of wine or drinks that she was having, which I thought was definitely unusual outside of her character.
And at some point in time, did she claim to be disabled and quit coming into the office?
She did.
Okay. And do you remember how many months that was prior to her death at the time?
I believe she went out on injury in July of that year.
After she went out on injury in July of 2022, did you have very much contact with her?
No.
Okay. And when was there some contact with her later, near the time of Michael Hardy's death, that she came into the office?
Yes.
And what happened on that day, if you recall?
I just remember she coming into the office unannounced, came into what would be the sergeant's office to talk to me and the other sergeants, and she just sat there and talked for about an hour or so, and then she went into her office, closed the door, and was inside of her office for probably 8 hours and never came out.
And you never saw or heard from her at work again, is that correct?
I never saw her again after that, but I had spoken to her over the phone after that.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, after it becomes public that Michael Harding was murdered, did you have a conversation with her?
I did.
And where was that conversation, and can you describe what happened?
Sure. I was at my house, and she called me, and she was literally screaming on the phone that Michael was found dead, that Michael had been killed. And it was so over-exaggerated, her reaction, that I really thought that it was unusual because of the information and her feelings as to what she had told me prior to about her and Mike and how she felt about him. I thought that it was unusual that she was reacting that way.
Previously, how did she describe Michael Harding, and what were her feelings about him?
Her feelings were not good for Michael. As time went on, she made a lot of accusations that things that he was doing to her, which was upsetting her and making her angry. So it really felt like it was a volatile situation. And then when I got that phone call, I thought, well, geez, if you really felt that way, you were really over the top feeling sad for somebody that you supposedly don't like anymore or actually hate.
Based on that conversation and your law enforcement and training experience, what did you think about that phone call?
I thought, when I hung up the phone, I thought that that was something that she really made the phone call so that I would remember this moment in time.
Is there an alibi possibly, or did you have any suspicions that she might have been involved in Mr. Harding's death at that time?
Well, I think that's natural as a law enforcement officer that you do, yes.
Based on what she and how she described Mr. Harding in the past compared to that phone call that you received?
Correct.
Okay. And do you recall when you received that phone call?
I don't, I just know that it was in the, I think it was the late morning of a day of the week, I can't remember.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
That's like inquiry.
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Good morning.
More than
So you stated that Julie was taking time off during the summer of 2022.
She was out on injury, So it really wasn't time off, it's considered disability time off.
And at what point did she start sharing with you information about her accusations about Michael Harvey?
Maybe roughly around August or September.
And you said that she made numerous accusations about Michael,
Yes,
that he was extorting her money,
that was one of the things, yes.
that he had wiped her out overnight and left her with nothing,
Yes,
that he had taken all of the guns that they owned,
yes,
that Michael had a girlfriend in Tennessee,
correct,
that he was selling marijuana,
yes.
that he was selling ghost guns.
I believe that was one of them as well, yes.
Can you define that term for the jury? What is a ghost gun?
A ghost gun is a gun that is out in public that's not registered, and the serial number is usually scratched off so that it can't be identified.
She said she was afraid of Michael.
I don't recall if she actually said that she was afraid of Michael or not.
And at some point, she told you that she was dating someone from the Napa area.
I believe she did.
But she didn't tell you who that person was.
No.
And that was around the time that she was sending you photos of her drinking wine.
Yes.
And at some point in time, Julie received flowers in the office, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
And you were the person that accepted delivery of those flowers.
Correct.
And you were able to see the name on the card.
The flowers, if I remember, that were delivered that I took possession of, I don't think that they had a name on the card, or I don't recall them having a card even with them. I think the flowers just came in the vase.
And when you were speaking with Julie, she often told you that she needed help with things.
Yes,
She told you that she needed help financially,
correct.
and she was trying to buy a house.
That's correct.
And she claimed that Michael had taken the deed for their house.
Yes.
And you didn't ask her to share any of this information with you, did you?
No, I did not. It actually got to a point where I kind of felt uncomfortable that I was receiving this much information from her, and I was supposed to be on a working relationship with her.
No further questions.
No regulation. This witness be released. He may. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Call your next witness, please.
Chief Doug Lyons.
Pardon?
Chief Doug Lyons, Lyons.